What if there was one thing you could do every day that would improve your mood, increase your confidence, help you better manage stress, and improve your sleep? And what if I also told you that doing this thing was free, and most people can start doing it today? I'm talking about running, the single most important thing I do to maintain my tranquility of mind and physical health. In this video, I'll explain the benefits of running, and why putting on some running shoes could change your life. The author Haruki Murakami wrote a book called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running, which relates his personal experience with running and how it parallels his writing process. For him to find the ideas for his novels, which he describes as being equivalent to searching down deep, dark wells, he needs to have enough mental stamina. He needs to have the energy to go to the deepest parts of his imagination to unlock the next part of his story. Murakami wrote, "Being active every day makes it easier to hear that inner voice." In a similar way to Murakami, I run for mental stamina. But it isn't just for writing, it is for all the difficult things I have to do that day, and in the future. Conquering a run, in the same way as conquering a cold shower in the morning, is training for life's wrestling match. Marcus Aurelius said that the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks. Sudden and unexpected setbacks can throw us off course, but the best response is to be resilient. Running is great training for this. You must be resilient enough to run the distance you set for yourself and endure muscle cramps, blisters, and the weather. If you say, "I will run 5k, and then you run 5k, you feel resilient in your resolve to push through any mental and physical discomfort and achieve what you set out to do. This is great for when you set other goals in your day. You will feel you are more likely to accomplish them because you managed to run your planned distance. Running every day is similar to the Stoic meditation, the premeditation of adversity. This is where one imagines the various things that could go wrong, and the things that we may no longer have in the future, such as our health, finances, and relationships. It is preparation for the fact that we don't always get what we believe ought to be ours. This is similar to Murphy's Law, which states that if anything can go wrong, it will. Many people who don't understand Murphy's Law are more likely to have their tranquility disturbed. Things will go wrong, and they won't know how to cope. Their tranquility will be disturbed so deeply and for so long that they can't get back on track with their lives. Running is a great way of training your ability to maintain your tranquility. There may be bumps along the way, but you can get back on your feet and keep on running. Running is an endurance activity that requires one to be master of the mind. This is essential, as throughout the day, we are at the mercy of the mind's racing thoughts. When we run, the mind tries to convince us that what it has to say is more important than the world around us. Sometimes when I run, I have to consciously focus on what's around me and where my feet are landing to detach myself from my mind. It's like changing the channel on the TV. But it's not as easy as clicking a button. It requires a degree of awareness that can be cultivated if we change the channel as often as we can. It is a form of meditation. It shows just how hard it is to ignore nagging thoughts. But every time you turn your attention away from them, it is a mini victory. The number of times I've had to ignore the thought that tells me to stop running is innumerable. Following the thought to stop running will mean you end up walking back home feeling defeated. But every time you ignore the thought, you are training a mindful muscle. So, for example, if you are writing an essay and the thought comes into your head, to check TikTok, you can more easily let that thought go and continue your work. However, some thoughts might be useful when you run. You may have creative ideas and come up with solutions to interpersonal problems. We should treat our thoughts like they are clouds in the sky. They are guests. You can invite them into your consciousness, or you can let them go. Murakami wrote, "The thoughts that occur to me while I'm running are like clouds in the sky, clouds of all different sizes. They come and they go, while the sky remains the same sky always. The clouds are mere guests in the sky that pass away and vanish, leaving behind the sky." I don't run solely for my physical health. I do it mainly for my sanity. I prove to myself every day that I can break through mental barriers and achieve something productive. I get out of bed early in the morning, put on my running shoes, and get outside and run. Murakami wrote, "Running day after day, piling up the races, bit by bit I raise the bar, and by clearing each level I elevate myself. At least that's why I've put in the effort day after day, to raise my own level." Raising my level is part of the appeal of running. I run a little faster or a little longer than yesterday, or I might get up a little earlier for my run, or I'll try a different route. I will push myself a little bit each day to prove to myself that I'm capable of adapting and overcoming challenges. Imagine it is like a practice stage in a fighting game. The stakes are low. You set the difficulty and you can see tangible progress. So when you enter the real fight, you are more prepared and resilient when facing your competitor. I run to make myself more productive, to give myself energy for the day's tasks, such as the things I want to do, like writing a script for a YouTube video, and those things I have to do, such as cleaning my room or sending emails. Running gives me a productive boost that is beneficial in motivating me to get things done. Finishing a run teaches me again and again that making myself do long and difficult things is fulfilling and meaningful. Seneca wrote that no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. I find that I am the most unhappy when I am not pushing myself. If I am sitting around, I get into a rut. I'm at the mercy of my mind. Negative thoughts tend to subside when I start running. If I run later in the day, I feel a tangible difference between me before I ran and me after. I have so much more energy and I feel way more positive after running. It is like coming out the other end of a fog. The young Hercules was faced with a crossroads and chose the path of hardship, which would lead to a meaningful and fulfilling life, rather than the path of pleasure, which would lead to a life of abundance, but a meaningless, agitated existence. I have to make that choice when I wake up in the morning. Stay in bed or run. It is the first thing you do in the day, an action taken for the long term, improving yourself physically and mentally. So, how do you start running? Firstly, why did I start? My current running habit started because I had hit a low point mentally. Interpersonal dramas were weighing me down, the future was overwhelming me, and I wasn't able to resist indulging in bad habits, such as wasting my time on YouTube and eating junk food. My life revolved around one negative storyline in my mind. It felt like I was possessed by mental phantoms, and it didn't feel like I was an agent in my life. I then had a realization. I had done no exercise, which was why I was feeling so out of touch with my body, and so identified with my mind. I looked at my running shoes and saw a way out of my misery. This epiphany got me out the door at 10 PM, where I ran a 5k. This was the beginning of my current running habit. Here's how you start. First, buy some running shoes. It's worth getting some good running shoes you can use for a while. One thing that put me off running in the early days was the discomfort from running in shoes not suitable for running. And then, start small. Run 1 or 2k. Go at your own pace, but keep running. If you stop, you may never start again. You may want to listen to a podcast or audiobook to distract yourself from the exertion of running. But I find I get the most benefit from running if I run in silence. It allows me to connect with my body, the world around me, and gives my mind space for creative thoughts. Murakami wrote, "All I do is keep on running in my own cozy, homemade void, my own nostalgic silence." And this is a pretty wonderful thing, no matter what anybody else says. Running is like journaling. It is time you have to yourself to settle your mind and take stock of your life and its direction. Murakami wrote that most runners run not because they want to live longer, but because they want to live life to the fullest. If you're going to while away the years, it's far better to live them with clear goals and fully alive than in a fog, and I believe running helps you do that. Exerting yourself to the fullest within your limits, that's the essence of running, and a metaphor for life. So, put on your running shoes and start running. It might be the best thing you have done today.
Meep meep.